So Cheryl Reeve was known for a while as being the number one Caitlin Clark hater coach. She was known for the going on Twitter and basically saying the WNBA is about more than one player at the start of the year. And she was the I don't give one SH1TS, I don't give two SH1TS. Yeah, I spelled the word correctly. About Caitlin Clark. And here is her in her exit interview about basically about the growth of the WNBA.
The evolution of the league into the space that it got into in terms of the popularity, even before the season started. When Caitlin Clark
This is very, very low.
announced that she was going to enter the draft, I remember, obviously I'm connected to the business side, and the wave of enthusiasm that came from a player that wasn't even going to play for the Lynx. And, we certainly knew some of the other players that were going to be in this draft. So there was a lot of excitement and momentum for the WNBA.
One of the weird things is that she had Angel Reese, basically. Everybody knew the draft was going. Every single person knew the draft was going to go. Caitlin Clark 1, Cameron Brink 2, Rakia Jackson or Camila Cardoso, one of those 3, the other one 4, JC Sheldon 5, Aaliyah Edwards 6. Everybody knew that was what the top 6 picks were going to be. And she had 7, and she traded out of Angel Reese.
But to see it actually translating business-wise across the league, whatever the reasons were, there's a lot of, as we all know, there's one really big reason, and then there's a lot of other reasons why.
And that's the one thing is she's as honest, and you can't say, and I mean this, you can't say that that someone like an Angel Reese has not had an impact on the growth of the WNBA. But to argue that the impact of Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark are even on the same stratosphere is just wrong. Let's just say again, before this year's league, Angel Reese might have brought in 20,000 fans that will regularly watch games. And by the way, Angel Reese, most of the Angel Reese fans of Angel Reese, the person of Angel Reese, the influencer, are going to care more about her pre-game fits than the actual game. They're not going to be people watching games. We know that. There's value in both, but let's be real. The vast majority of Angel Reese fans are fans of Angel Reese, the influencer, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But they're fans of Angel Reese, the influencer who plays basketball, not Angel Reese, the basketball player.
And I think the movement that we're in now, I think it's exciting. I think that for me, one of my biggest takeaways from this season is what you just said, with a number of times that I heard fans talking about being in bars, in the Twin Cities.
And that's the funny thing is, when I was in a bar after the Game 3, every single TV was showing the WNBA. Every single TV genuinely was talking about the WNBA, which is something. It genuinely is something. But at the end of the day, the league has grown, and it's not just Caitlin Clark. And look, 80% of the reason why the league has grown is because of Caitlin Clark. But at the same time, there were an awful lot of there is still growth anyway.
And maybe not accustomed to the game, their willingness to put a game on, because that's a battle when we try to watch women's sports. When we go into just a bar, it's hard to find it, or even a willingness to put it on.
And that's the one biggest thing from this season, is that the WNBA became a mainstream sports league. Did it go NBA big? No. But I would put the WNBA on an equivalent of the MLS. And not in the 4 major leagues, but I would put it at an equivalent of the MLS. Thereabouts.
To learn the frequency with which the games were on, sound on, people gathering together, having watch parties, as the season moved on, and we were, achieving the success that we were achieving, especially in the playoffs. The way the city supported us in terms of, signage, throughout the city, and Unfortunately, no, the other teams didn't have that. They didn't, and that's a travesty when you think about it. And Jim Pete always.
I do want to say, with her saying the other teams didn't have it and the Lynx did, the Lynx were a good team. Like, they weren't only, like, a good team in the way of, like, oh, they won. But, like, they played good basketball. Game 5 of the finals aside, dear Lord, they were bad in Game 5 of the finals. But they were also better than Liberty in that game. But, like, you're looking at a team that played good basketball. Heck, if you went into Minneapolis Airport, everything was about the WNBA finals. So, this was a team that played good basketball. I think a lot of neutrals, and I think that's a big reason why the Liberty and the Lynx was such a highly viewed finals. Why it was the most viewed finals, I think, since like the very first finals, which was best of one. And the reason is, genuinely, is that they were two teams that neutrals liked. Like, a lot of people were like, all people were saying, oh, when the Caitlin Clark fans, like, they're gonna leave, they're not gonna watch, they're not gonna watch the games when she's gone. There were two teams, realistically, that the quote-unquote Caitlin Clark fans would have watched in the WNBA finals because they played good basketball, albeit, again, shocking. Game 2 and 5 were shocking basketball games. They were just shocking games of basketball from both parties. But again, you never see the most, you never really see the most riveting games in Game 7s. Or Game 5s or whatever to do, or like win or go home games, especially when it's a long series. And the finals, like, a lot of people talk about Game 7 of 2016. That was tense. That was a terrible game of basketball. Like, if you watch that and you take away the fact that it was Game 7 of one of the greatest finals of all time, it was a garbage game of basketball. And that was the reality of Game 5 as well. But I think you have, like, as a coach, well, even as a coach, but like her as well, she has to take some credit because, no offense to the Connecticut Sun, no offense to the Chicago Sky, they played I will describe them as puke basketball. Like, this Connecticut Sun did it well. They dragged teams to their level. The Chicago Sky played puke basketball. The Sparks just weren't very good. The Wings played fun ball. Like, as bad as they were fun. The Dream, I don't even know what the Dream were. No one knows what the Dream were. The Aces, I thought, played horrible basketball this year, but they're still Las Vegas Aces. I thought the Storm were okay. But the Lynx and the Liberty were the two best teams. And they were the teams that were able to keep their fans and get more fans because they played good basketball. So you can't entirely, like, you can give Caitlin Clark credit. You can't say, oh, the other team should have that too, because I think the teams that actually put out a good product, or at least a product that was worth watching during the NBA offseason, like were the Lynx, the Liberty, the Wings, and the Fever. Maybe the Storm. At times, the Mercury were good to watch. I have to say that as well.
We said it. Man, people have no idea what they're missing. And we're going to look back on this and go, how in the heck? But it happened in the NBA too. There's some great players that were playing in front of 2,000 people back in the NBA, back in the day. And so for me, that was a big thing, a part of the identity of the season for the Minnesota Lynx was, as we know, business-wise, one of the best years that we've ever had. But then also support-wise from the community, throughout the community.
So, yeah, like with Cheryl Reeve, I think she's on the money there. I think a big reason why her team... I'll say it, a big reason for the initial buzz was Caitlin Clark. But I also have to take into account... She takes into account that, like, the fans were so great for the Minnesota Lynx. And a big reason for that was because they were good. Because, like, Caitlin Clark brought the fans in. Your team had to play well, or at least a brand of basketball. It doesn't have to be the most, like, NBA level, entertainment level basketball, but at least a good enough level of basketball that you can come in and watch these games and be be entertained throughout the season. So it's good to see that she admitted Caitlin Clark was a big reason for the initial growth of the league. But also one thing she didn't point out was the fact that the reason why the fans stayed for her team was because her team were interesting to watch. Like, that's the truth of it as well. The truth of it is that she's completely on the money, and people need to stop saying it, that, like, Caitlin Clark is 95% of the reason of the new players coming in. If you split all the rookies in percentages, it's 92% Caitlin, 6% Reese, 2% Cameron Brink. and the rest of it is all less than 1%. And that is the truth of the matter. And also the fact that the Liberty and Lynx had so many viewers is a testament to the fact that throughout the season, the Liberty and the Lynx both played a decent style of basketball.